Hello there, my name is Melissa, and this is my presentation for the Global Environmental Health Interprofessional Project. This presentation will start with an overview of recycling used lead acid batteries, followed by the health risk and associated problems, followed by the first professional that I interviewed, which is a teacher, then the second professional, which is a data analyst, and the last professional, which is a lawyer. And then I will discuss the assessment and integration of approaches. Let's discuss the issue. So, lead acid batteries are commonly used in cars, trucks, boats, and most motor vehicles. Over time, these batteries become worn out and they have to be disposed of properly, but the issue is that most people are disposing of them the wrong way. What is the magnitude of this issue? Well, lead acid batteries are responsible for about 86% of the total global consumption of lead. Lower and middle income countries find themselves in high need of motor vehicles and renewable energy resources, which is why they often tend to turn to lead. The increase of need of storage batteries creates a high demand for lead acid batteries. These batteries can contain up to 10 kilograms of lead in the form of solid metal or lead oxide powder, which is released when they grind up the lead and they smelt it. Recycled lead is a source of income for many, especially in the lower income countries, which is why they tend to take them from the cars and motor vehicles and then melt them down and see if they can sell them for a source of income. So, improperly disposing of lead acid batteries has many negative effects on the environment as well as the human body. Exposure to lead from improperly recycling lead acid batteries come from environmental emissions. Since lead is valuable, most lower middle income countries smelt the lead in open air, which releases numerous lead particles into the air, soil, water, and into the human bodies. So, children and pregnant women are most vulnerable to lead exposure because their bodies are still developing. In children, extreme levels of lead can stunt a child's growth, can cause brain damage, can cause kidney damage, as well as hearing and behavioral problems. In adults, extreme levels of lead can cause memory loss, harm the reproductive system, cause high blood pressure, nerve disorder, muscle and joint pain, and more. So, the first professional that I had the pleasure of speaking with was a teacher, Miss Nicole Prime. Miss Prime is a sixth grade teacher who is tasked with the job of educating young minds on a daily basis. However, the knowledge that she provides to the children have the ability to spread beyond their communities and families. When I proposed this problem to Miss Prime, she proposed the intervention of being able to stress the importance of understanding the dangers of lead by creating an environmental campaign in the classroom. She would be able to educate the students by guiding them in creating creative materials, posters, presentations, etc. And Ms. Prime would even go as far as organizing field trips to local recycling centers for the children so that they can see firsthand how to dispose of dangerous materials properly. This would be very impactful as the students would be properly educated on lead disposal, and hopefully their knowledge would spread to their families and their respective communities. The next professional that I had the pleasure of speaking with is Todd Graham, a data analyst. Todd Graham is a data analyst at Verizon who is tasked with analyzing data for the company to help the respective teams uncover trends, optimize business performance, oversee budgets, and improve consumer experience overall. When I proposed this issue to Todd, he tapped into his analytical background and he proposed that he use his skills to study health data and reports from areas that are known for their lack of recycling or even improper recycling. This would allow him to pinpoint and map out the areas that are most affected by lead exposure due to lead batteries. He also proposed tracking the health outcomes in that area or those areas to see how badly these communities are being affected. The impact of this would be by having access to this data, he would be able to reveal the areas and communities that are most at risk so that preventative interventions can be set in place and help them, and then resources can be allocated and focused towards those areas that are most impacted by lead acid battery use and improper disposal. The final professional that I had the pleasure of speaking with is Chiara Florime, a lawyer, specifically criminal law. She's a criminal law lawyer who focuses her time and resources towards defending those wrongfully accused and who may not have the resources to afford proper legal representation. When I presented this issue to Ms. Fleury-May, I knew that she would be looking at this issue from a defense perspective, and her proposed intervention reflected that. Which, with her criminal prosecution background, Kiara proposed a partnership with environmental and health inspectors to locate those who are responsible for improper recycling through unlicensed recycling operations. This would seek legal action against those who are illegally handling hazardous materials and are creating unsafe work environments where workers have to dispose of these materials. The impact of this would be that Kiara believes that this would raise public awareness for the legal consequences of improperly disposing of lead batteries and force those who are encouraging these practices to take accountability for their actions. Finally, we bring together these three different approaches to have a unified approach. While the perspectives of a teacher, a lawyer, and a data analyst may seem different, their proposed interventions are not that far off from each other. Mr. Graham's analytical approach of identifying high-risk areas is important for Ms. Prime as a teacher to know in order to educate her students on these places, and for Ms. Florime as a lawyer to know so that she is aware on where to focus her prosecution efforts. Through educating young minds on this issue, Ms. Prime's educational approach will work hand in hand with Ms. Florime's law approach, as those who are aware of the consequences of improper recycling will be less likely to do it. The information and data collected through Mr. Graham's and Ms. Prime's approaches will help strengthen any case Ms. Florime would be prompted to make against those who are purposefully mishandling lead batteries and putting others in harm's way. So while these perspectives are very different, they come together to try to solve this ongoing issue that is putting many in harm's way. Thank you for listening to my presentation. As I was interviewing these three different people, it made me think about what my role would be in this and what my interventions would be. And I just came to the conclusion that even though people come from different professional backgrounds, everybody has something to offer and everyone has a role to play in the fight of, preserving the world and making it a better place and a safer place for the future generations to live in. And now I'm thinking about how I can change and help this issue as well. So thank you. And here are my references. Thank you for listening.